it's been really fun, like I said. Anyway, from here on out, it's gonna be spooky stuff. I tried to give a good variety, because not everybody likes spooky stuff, and tried to include as many true crimes as I would have done had we not done Spooktober at all. Now, tonight, we are going to do celebrity ghost stories. Now, not sightings of celebrity ghosts. Someone mentioned that, and we might do that next year because I was not prepared. But this is celebrities. I'm going to move you just a hair. Sorry if that's loud. Celebrities telling their ghost stories. Now, they're not terribly in-depth, but I thought it was kind of cool. So, I gathered a bunch of them for you, and I'm going to tell them to you now. There we go. Now, people either believe in ghosts or they don't. I do. However, no one can deny the thrill of a chilling ghost story or the curiosity that comes with a supposed paranormal encounter. And this is exactly why film franchises like Ghostbusters or the TV show actually called Celebrity Ghost Stories and even Ghost Hunters have remained so successful for so many years. With the attention of celebrities constantly in high demand by, living people, it would make sense that ghosts would want to talk to them too. If I were a ghost, I don't know who I'd go to, but maybe I'm bored and I want to. Actors make it their life's work to make fiction so compelling that audiences believe it's real, and we pay money to watch it. Now, given the nature of the trade, you might think that some of the actors would be the first ones to cast doubt upon the existence of ghosts. Another fiction whose narratives are so mesmerizing that many people do believe they exist. I started this article with, it's not really an article unless I wrote my own, but I started this video with one of the ones that I thought was really funny because it is by one of the original Ghostbusters, Dan Aykroyd. He told Esquire magazine in 2013 that he once lived in a Hollywood home haunted by Mama Cass of the Mamas and the Papas. He said, "I'm pretty sure there were two spiritual presences in that house. Mama Cass herself and another guy who died next to the house and was buried there." Dan Aykroyd reported multiple encounters with the ghosts. He said, "I had several experiences. I saw things moving around on our counter, doors opening, doors closing. Someone crawled in bed with me once," he added. Now, the actor doesn't think that his spectral sleeping partner was Mama Cass, though. "I think it was the other guy. I was alone in the house, and I decided to take a nap. I closed the door to the bedroom, but I didn't lock it. I woke up, and the door was open. I rolled over, and I looked at the bed, and I saw the depression in the mattress, like somebody was getting in there. And I thought, I'm just gonna roll over and snuggle up next to it. I'd be surprised if I was his type, but when you're dead, you take what you can get." As it turns out, interest in the paranormal runs in the family. Dan Aykroyd's father has actually written a book called History of Ghosts, a true story of seances, mediums, ghosts, and Ghostbusters. And in this book, he describes the true events that inspired his son to make Ghostbusters. I don't know how I would feel about a ghost climbing in bed with me. I apologize if you can hear that train. I feel like Spooktober has been scream. I run in there and the water had somehow flipped from medium to very hot. She hadn't touched it and it was burning her. She was actually turning red. And it was then that Miley thought that she saw the image of a little boy. I could see this little boy sitting there on the sink, kicking his feet back and forth, she said. Soon after this, Miley and her entire family relocated from this apartment building, a former bakery, to the Soho Hotel. They then learned that there might actually be something to Miley's vision. They found out that there was this older man that owned the bakery, and his son lived there, and the wife had died. So it was just the son and the dad that lived there. And then the dad died, and the son took over the bakery. And I thought I was seeing the son. There were no more sightings of the creepy little kid, but Miley said she had to move. That is not a lie. I will never stay there again. The next story is by Patrick Stewart. While performing Waiting for Godot with Ian McClellan at the Theatre Royal Haymarket, the actor became distracted by one rather dapper ghoul. I just saw a ghost on stage during Act 1, Stewart told his best friend and frequent co-star, according to a story in the Telegraph. He said that this ghost was a man standing just off stage, wearing a beige coat and twill pants. According to stagehands, the mystery man he was seeing was the ghost of John Baldwin Buckstone, who was an actor and the manager of the theater in the mid-19th century. This man was also a friend of Charles Dickens. This article included a director of the theater, a man named Nigel Everett, saying that when he was told about it, he was not frightened, but impressed by the fact that he had seen the ghost. Apparently other people had seen the ghost, but it didn't happen very often. The next one is by the late Carrie Fisher. She was best known for playing Princess Leia in the Star Wars saga, in case you've been asleep for a long time. She claimed to have had an eerie personal experience back in 2005. At the time of her encounter, her good friend, 42-year-old named R. Gregory Stevens, was visiting. After a late-night awards show party, he crawled into her bed, where they chatted for a while and fell asleep. The next morning, she woke up and found him dead from an overdose. Now, this situation was difficult enough, of course, but later, Carrie would start hearing odd noises in her house. And not just her. Her friends heard them too. She said that she would always feel his presence after that fateful night, and told Vanity Fair that lights would go on and off, and this talking toy machine that she had would go off in the night all by itself in her closet. And in fact, it was the same closet where this Stevens guy's clothes still hung. A psychic later told Carrie Fisher that since Mr. Stevens was taken so abruptly and so young, his soul was reluctant to accept his departure, hence his presence in her home. And although Carrie Fisher has implied that Stevens' ghost made her a bit crazy, she also understood the spirits need to stick around. In her appearance on the show I mentioned earlier, Celebrity Ghost Stories, she said that for a ghost, it made sense to stay around people you love until it's time to accept things and move on. I kind of like that sentiment because I believe that my dad is still around, but we're not going to go into that. If you want to know that story, you'll have to go way back into my spooky stories and find my personal paranormal encounter video. saw the ghost of a woman who committed suicide after a bad vaudeville review. They say that she manifests herself in the theater with a screaming face, and sometimes she's seen, and she needs to learn to smile a little, said Peter Jackson. Let's not make fun of ghosts, Mr. Jackson. The next one is by Ariana Grande, and I thought this one was pretty interesting. So, the pop singer claims to have been haunted by demons ever since she visited Kansas City, Missouri's Stoll Cemetery with her friends in August of 2013. They didn't make it very far into the graveyard, which, according to Ariana, is known as one of the 7 gates to hell on Earth, before strange things started happening. She started to feel sick, this overwhelming feeling of negativity over the whole car, and they smelled sulfur, which, according to her, is the sign of a demon. And she said, "This is scary, let's go." It was only after the fact that something truly eerie took place. Ariana had taken a picture, and there were 3 super distinct faces in the picture. Textbook demon-like faces, Ariana said. And I read that she tried to send it to her manager, and it would not download, which I think is a little extra eerie. The next one is by Jenna Bush Hager. Now, I thought this was cool because it's about the White House. Now, to no one's surprise, the White House is reportedly haunted. I love stuff like that, like the history of the White House, but I am completely not political at all. Anyway, Jenna said, "I heard a ghost. I was asleep, and there was a fireplace in my room, and all of a sudden I heard this 1920s music, and I could feel just freaked out, and I ran into my sister's room, and she was like, 'Please go back to sleep, this is ridiculous.' And then her sister became convinced. The next week, they were both asleep in Jenna's room, and the phone rang and woke them up. And they were chit-chatting and getting ready to go back to bed, and all of a sudden they hear this opera coming out of the fireplace. They couldn't believe it. They both jumped in the bed and were asking people that worked there the next morning if they were crazy. People who have lived in the White House have said that they have heard noises all the time. Even Hillary Clinton said it could be a little creepy to live in the White House. I believe it. There's a lot of history there. The next story is from Cher, and I thought it was really cute. Cher thinks that her husband, Sonny Bono, is haunting her house, and she doesn't care at all. During a Reddit Ask Me Anything, Cher said, "I love ghosts. I actually think Sonny makes a light turn on. I have a beautiful chandelier that he makes the light go on when it is impossible. There is no power on. I love ghosts. I prefer ghosts to some people." The next story is from Lady Gaga. In 2010, Lady Gaga's crew said that she was freaked out because a ghost named Ryan was following her. They reported that she was absolutely terrified by this spirit, but more than anything, she was annoyed because she couldn't get him to leave her alone. She tried everything. She held a seance in Belfast to try to get rid of him. She reportedly dropped almost $50,000 on ghost finding equipment, but I couldn't find any word on whether or not Ryan was actually busted. Like, ghost busted. I think I'm funny. I'm really not. Okay. Matthew McConaughey moved into his house in Hollywood, and when he first moved in, he slept in a tent with his dog, and she said happened since she was a small child and is why she was so interested in ghosts. In 2013, she told BuzzFeed that her own house is haunted by a woman named Emily. I go ghost hunting. My house in Texas is so ridiculous haunted. Not by a bad spirit, but a girl, and I think her name is Emily. I had a medium come over and ghost hunters, and they both told me the same name, Emily. There were so many times that I saw her when I was growing up. I saw her in my closet one time. When I was 3, my mom caught me talking to someone by myself, and she said, "Who are you talking to?" And I said, "My best friend, Emily. She's playful, and she's probably 11 or 12 years old, maybe even younger." I don't know, something about little kids just gives me the heeps. Poison frontman Bret Michaels, who I love, has revealed that the spirit of his departed grandmother has visited him not once, but twice in his life. And he credits the first meeting with her to giving him the willpower to succeed in his career. I'm not that type of person that every time I hear a crackle or a sound in the attic, I don't immediately say it's a ghost. Bret explains at the beginning of his experience on Celebrity Ghost Stories. He said, "However, I believe I have absolutely for sure seen an apparition in my life." He goes on to explain how a strange light in the basement in the middle of the day defines a moment in his 17-year-old life. He was wrestling with his parents' divorce, his own diabetes, the death of his grandmother, and the fear of never escaping the small town that he lived in. This light convinced him he needed to get serious about his music. Now, it scared the crap out of me, he admits, but when I think back, it motivated me enough to let me know that my life, hanging out with these friends, was going nowhere. So badly that day, I needed a sign, and I got it. Years later, his grandmother appeared in more recognizable form. Apparently, she'd gotten better at this in the intervening years. On the deck of the Malibu so I thought this was a good one to include. Allison Hannigan clearly has her own ghost slaying to do, and the story did creep me out. In 2003, Allison claimed that she lived in a haunted house, but said that she didn't mind. She explained, "I have a ghost in my house. I saw him a couple of months ago. I don't think he died there, because there's a law in LA that when you buy a house, if someone's died there, they have to disclose that. And nobody did. So I don't know why he's there, but he's very friendly. My friend saw him first one night, and the friend said, 'I don't mean to alarm you, but I just saw a man follow us out of the house.' And Allison said, 'Well, at least he's gentlemanly. He let us go first.' However, this was not the last time that Allison saw this spirit. She continues, 'Later that night, I saw this silhouette of a man standing in the bathroom doorway. And I was like, "Sweetie, what are you doing?" I thought it was my fiance, which you might recognize her fiance as Wesley Wyndham Price. I don't know if they got married. I didn't research. And then she looked, and Alexis was asleep next to her, and she said that she'd really love to get the ghost's name. She was thinking of putting a little chalkboard where he lives to see if he'll write his name down. Keanu Reeves claims that he saw a ghost when he was a child after moving to New York. Okay. He was like 6 or 7, and they'd come from Australia, and Renata, their nanny, was in the bedroom with them. His sister was asleep, and he was just hanging out, and all of a sudden this jacket comes waving through the doorway. Empty jacket, no body, no legs, it's just there, and it disappears. He apparently told this on Jimmy Kimmel, and he said, "I was a little kid, and I thought, okay, that's interesting." And I look over at the nanny, and she's making this terrified face, and I thought, oh, that was real. So, that is